Al Mutari, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's a real honor to have you here, and we're so excited to have this discussion, learn more about you and Al Jalila Foundation. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Pam. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. I love what you're doing. I think it's very important to engage with the community, and I hope I can give you a very informative podcast, and excited to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm sure it will be. So why don't we start with, for those who might be listening that aren't familiar with Al Jalila Foundation, if you could tell us more about Al Jalila, what it does, what you focus on.
Absolutely. So we're a foundation established by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, ruler of Dubai and Vice President of the UAE, in 2013. And the vision was to put the UAE at the forefront of medical innovation. And we do that through our three core pillars: treatment, education, and research. We tend to focus on five areas, and we built programs across the three pillars that I just mentioned. And the five areas that we focus on are cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, and mental health. That's pretty much a summary of what we do. And we have different programs tailored across the treatment, education, and research pillars, which I can dive into a little further through our conversation. Amazing.
And how it was founded in what year did you say?
2013. 2013.
Okay, in 2013. And that's quite a very short time. Yeah. However, having said that, I think a lot has been done in that very short time. Most foundations, I don't think, could be where Al Jalila is now if they were founded in 2013, which is quite amazing.
Yes, no, for sure. I mean, we have a lot of programs that we want, that the public are aware of, but that we want the public to be more aware of. So I think that's part of the reason why we've grown so much. Is we're very forward thinking, we're very innovative, and in terms of the importance of knowing our programs, and maybe I'll just dive into one now, is on the treatment side. We have a program where we fund treatment for people seeking financial assistance who cannot afford their treatment, be it surgery, medication, or any other diseases that they're suffering from and they need financial assistance. We fully fund that for all residents of the UAE across all Emirates and all hospitals. So we have no bias in terms of choosing hospitals. All we ask is that the person applying, the applicant, provides financial proof that they cannot afford the treatment that they're after. And we have a board. We call the program Aoun. That means support in Arabic. So we have a Aoun board, and they review the applications. And we tend to approve most cases that come through, as long as there's credible information provided that, the person could be salaried, Pam, he could be unsalaried, could be insured, uninsured. And again, of all nationalities, we ask for proof that they could not afford it. So they could have a salary, but then they have a loan against that salary, and they have 2-3 dependents, and at the end of the month they can't afford their medication, let's say, and we review that and we approve it. So alhamdulillah, we've treated almost 300 patients last year.
Wow.
We've been growing, ever since we've established this program for quite some time now. So this is part of our growth, just to add to what you were saying about.
That's amazing. If you think of that in a year's context, that's almost one patient every day, which is really wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you make a really valid point. Like, one, okay, you have to have the financial proof, but I think until you have a chronic condition or something major happen to you that requires a lot of healthcare, the expenses start to rack up. Sometimes your insurance might not cover it. And even if you have a job and you have to support your family, sometimes your salary can't be enough. So that's a really beautiful program. If somebody were listening and interested in applying for that, would they find the application on the Al Jalila website?
Very simple. So today they just have to call 800 Al Jalila, and from there they just submit basic documents that are required via email, and just basic documentation today, passport copies, proof of employment or unemployment or what have you, bank statements, a few things here and there, and very simple process application.
Okay, amazing, amazing. No, that's good to know. So if you're listening, we'll put that phone number in the show notes, so just so people can see it if they forget. Sometimes it's hard to stop and go back. So we'll have that in the show notes as well.
Of course.
And I want to step back for a minute, because also I know your background, and we read your bio, and you were in the finance sector before you started working in Al Jalila, the healthcare sector.
Yes.
Was that a big transition for you?
Yeah, I mean, today, I'm blessed to be working in a foundation like this with colleagues that I have now. That's not to say that my time at the bank wasn't good. In fact, it set me up for my career very early on. It's one of the first jobs I had. I think it's very much everything I've been doing in my career is very similar in terms of roles. So today, I'm doing it on the nonprofit side. So the return on investment is much more rewarding on this side of things. It's just I raise funds and awareness for a nonprofit where I used to do it in investment banking for one of the largest banks in the Middle East. So I just traded my for-profit guns for nonprofit, and it's much more rewarding on this side for sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting how life does that. Sometimes we'll be somewhere, and then when you're making that transition, you think it really doesn't relate. But then once you're in it, you realize, oh, this previous thing prepared me for what I do now.
It does, because investing, investment banking in general. So I worked for asset management, the investment arm for Emirates NBD Asset Management, and today, it's very similar to everything that you do in life, and we invest in, right? So today, if we want to lose weight, we have to invest our time and efforts into signing up in a gym, eating healthier, changing our lifestyle, and with that investment comes our return on investment. Depending on how much time we put in, how much effort we put in, we get that return on investment. So that's why I say that set me up for life, is because that's very much what we do on a daily basis with everything, with our relationships, with our health, with our wealth. It's how much time we put into the things that we want to see a return on. So
I love that analogy, and I think it's so important too, not just for older people. My digital marketing manager, we have this discussion a lot because she's studied digital marketing, and she's a little bit younger than me, and says she's so surprised at how many people now, like in their 20s, think that they don't need to worry about their healthcare because they're young and your metabolism's great and all these other things, right?
Yeah.
So there's no complications. And then they think, oh, that's something I'm going to worry about after 30. They don't think of it as an investment.
Yeah. I mean, it's never ending, right? I don't think there's an age limit on that. I think it's ongoing, just like with education in life, you never stop learning. And I think it's very much applicable to, where to invest your time and efforts in life. It's never ending. You always have to keep it sustainable and ongoing.
I think so.
So yeah, definitely.
From a very early age, always trying, even now with my son being 14, trying to tell him you don't have to go join the NBA. How topical that I say NBA when they're in Abu Dhabi at the moment. Didn't think of that. But I said, you don't need to go join the NBA, but if you like to play basketball, go out and play and enjoy it. It'll keep you healthy. You'll have fun with your friends. And it's an investment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Pam. I think, I was saying this on another podcast that I was on, but it's very important to get this sort of mindset early on. So I stress on the importance of what you just said, getting there early on. Today, all the diseases that we focus on, cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, obesity, and mental health, they're all very much interlinked, and they all are very much lifestyle related, right? Which is why podcasts like yours are very important to get the message out there for people to sort of, keep an emphasis on and an importance on their lifestyle, and keep wary of what they're doing on a daily basis, what they're eating, and how they're going about doing it. So yes, how they're going about getting their lifestyle in order in terms of exercises or etc. So the point you mentioned about your son and basketball, definitely very important. So you can take, for example, obesity, right? Today, some people call it nutritional diseases. So it starts there, right? So, and it doesn't always start there, but you can take that as an example. A kid who's suffering from nutritional diseases or obesity has a high chance of developing high blood pressure. And with high blood pressure, he has a high chance of developing diabetes. And with diabetes, he has a high chance of developing cardiovascular diseases. And with cardiovascular disease, he has a high chance of developing cancer. I think diabetes comes before high blood pressure. It's actually right after obesity. So from obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular diseases, and at some point, a higher risk of developing cancer. So it all roots back to lifestyle, right? So very important what you just said. I think a lot of people need to keep a very watchful eye on that, and know that it's something very basic, that these are very much interlinked. I think everyone knows that, and we just turn a blind eye sometimes and not focus on the root of it, which is the activities, the lifestyle, the diet, So things like sports are very, very important. And Pam, based on our previous discussions, how much I I love sports, and I put a very strong link between sports and what I do here, philanthropy overall. So
yeah, I wanted to actually I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly where I wanted to go, is that I know you love sports, MMA and some other things that you're involved in. So why don't you tell us how that is becoming incorporated into what you do in Al Jalila, and also your personal interests as well?
Of course. No, I'm a big sports fan, football, MMA, as you said, boxing, whatever it is, paddle, tennis, basketball. I'm a fan of sports overall. But when I first joined the foundation, I noticed that there's sort of missing link at the foundation, or less sort of exposure in terms of collaborating with athletes, right? There was very little done in that front, or there was a good amount here with a few golfers here and there. But in the football front, football today is one of the most popular sports in the world. It's the sport of choice here in the UAE. And that was my first objective, was to get a football player here, to have some conversation with them, and to link what they're doing to what we're doing, and see how we can collaborate. So first choice in mind, Michel Salgado, former Real Madrid and Spain football player, was the perfect candidate to be our official sports ambassador. So we appointed him as our sports ambassador. And since then, he's tied up with us in numerous occasions and invited us to different events and put us as his official charity sponsor. Today, I think the link between philanthropy and with sports in general, charities and sports, there's always an element of charity in all sports. You look at, football. There's so many charity football matches happening, all the time throughout the year to support all causes, be it diabetes or cancer or heart diseases, you name it. And in basketball, same thing, charity matches. Boxing, same thing. In MMA and UFC, there's always an element of charity on the organization side, as well as on the athlete side, right? So most athletes also have a cause that they hold near and dear to them. And they have charities of their own, or foundations of their own rather, that they put emphasis on certain causes as well. So sometimes it links, your cause and theirs, and you find synergies there, and potential room to collaborate. And that's happened with us many times, namely with an athlete that Michelle introduced us to, former goalkeeper and Spain legend, Real Madrid legend, Iker Casillas. And he has a foundation of his own in Madrid, Fundación Iker Casillas, and he suffered from a heart attack at age 37. Pam, this is known news. And today, for an athlete like that, high level performing athlete to have suffered something like that, it shows the importance, and that no one is, some people say that, okay, I'm healthy, this can't happen to me. And you look at someone at that level of performance and health and lifestyle, and you see how some things are, unavoidable. So since that happened to him, he put a strong emphasis for his foundation to focus on heart diseases. And he went on to establish a health tech accelerator and funded a company that focuses on reading regular algorithms, heartbeats. So upon his visit here, we discussed, and when he saw that we have one of our focus areas is in heart diseases, immediately there was a potential to collaborate. And, alhamdulillah, since then, I think it's almost 7 or 8 months ago, we announced it to the news that we're collaborating with this foundation and that we're doing something. And inshallah, soon we'll be announcing a project that we're working on with him. And this is just a small example of the potential that there is to collaborate with different athletes and in sports in particular, right? Because you're not just collaborating to focus on a concern or a cause or to raise funds for it, but you're raising awareness for it. And the community, today these athletes are role models, and they have an audience, a platform that they can raise very strong awareness for certain causes, programs, initiatives. And it's important for people to know in the community here in particular, who we are, what we do, the different programs that we have, and the areas that we focus on. So that's pretty much summed up. A lot of different athletes came here. On the MMA side, we had legendary UFC coach Javier Mendez, who coached Habib Nurmagomedov, again, UFC legend, retired. And he also came through with different ideas, and he's collaborating with us now on an ongoing basis. And he has since, introduced us to many different potential partners that we will be collaborating with, inshallah, in the near future. And again, it's all about raising awareness and collaborating, finding mutual areas of collaboration and using it to the full potential to reach both our goals.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And I think, like you said, sports, not everyone loves football, but, World Cup is coming, and I don't usually watch football, but almost everybody I know here watches World Cup. I love watching the World Cup when there's so much at stake. Yeah. And that's when you learn about different players, like previous World Cup. That's when I learned that Nacho, who was, who's from Spain, where he has type 1 diabetes. And had I not been watching the World Cup, I would not have known that. I would not have been, super enthusiastic and become like the biggest, fan for the Spanish team after learning. But of course, we were cheering for many teams before, but you suddenly, you see these players and people identify with them, whether or not they have a condition or not, or what something in their story.
Yes.
And sports make people feel good, unless maybe your team doesn't win. But even still, you carry all of these good, positive feelings with you. And then people want to emulate that or be like them. Like in the US, we had the Like Mike commercials that were huge. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. So whatever Michael Jordan did, everybody wanted to do that.
Of course.
So that's a really great way to draw more attention to it, but also to make it more fun, dare I say.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And it's that key word, right? Identifying. Today, you give someone something to identify with, you make it more relatable, and it has a greater impact. Like Nacho, absolutely. Nacho Fernandez is a great example for diabetes there. So, inshallah, we're growing in this space. It's uncharted waters for us, and that's why we appointed someone like Michelle to guide us and give us different ideas. And yeah, inshallah, we're very optimistic, and we look forward to doing many things across the space.
That would be amazing. Yeah, we can't wait to see what they are, and any sporting events. We'll be happy to come watch.
Definitely.
So we're recording this during the month of October, which is, as we know, very big month in cancer awareness. Do you all have any special initiatives that you're focusing on now for the month of October?
So we have a lot of initiatives that we're focusing on with different companies today. I think, and I was saying this in my previous podcast, a lot of companies for corporate social responsibility, which I think has become a theme of growing importance over the past few years. A lot of companies tend to be asleep for the beginning of the year up until October, and then they just wake up and they contact the team here, our partnerships team, and they just flood our emails and calls, and what are you doing for October, and how can we collaborate, and that's great, that's amazing. The amount of support we get in October is endless, and the team works tirelessly here. So we're running a number of initiatives. Today it's across different industries in terms of companies. It's endless, the amount of companies that are doing stuff with us. Danata just announced yesterday the campaign that they're doing, one of many companies that's doing campaigns with us. But I think it's important to get the message out there about our cancer drop-in center, right? So Majlis al-Amal is what we call it. So it means living room of hope in Arabic. We like the word hope here in the foundation, Pam. You might have seen the key of hope that we gave His Highness Sheikh Mohammed when we opened the foundation, to open the doors of the foundation. And then we have Majlis al-Amal, which is the living room of hope. And then we have the installation, which we put the crystals of hope to honor the donors that helped, to recognize the donors rather, that helped us build the Mohammed bin Rashid Research Institute, which you visited. So we like the word hope, and it's very much applicable particularly for Majlis al-Amal, because it's a drop-in center for women of all three stages, right? So women who have just been diagnosed, women who are currently going through cancer treatment, and women who have recovered. So basically the woman who has just been diagnosed and walks through the doors of Majlis al-Amal gets into a community of women of all three different levels, right? And she talks to the woman who has just recovered, and it gives her that feeling of hope, right? That she's already made it past her journey on the other side, and it gives her that very important element of hope. So community is a very strong word to describe what Majlis al-Amal is. It's a home away from home for these women. There's a workstation. They have different events. They have a book club community that they have, community activity that they have, one of which they have yoga classes, Pilates, different workshops that are being given on a daily basis throughout the week. They have treatments like lymphatic drainage, physiotherapy, makeover treatments, so on and so forth, so many. And of course, it's all free of charge for them. So they come and they have even workstations that they can come and do their work there. And to tie that to what you're talking about, many companies come and offer their services, and many individuals come and give workshops for these women to contribute towards, raising awareness for all types of cancer, not just breast cancer. But for this month in particular, Pinktober, as they call it, there's a lot happening, in Majlis al-Amal with a lot of different companies, many campaigns that we're running across. So I think it's important to get out the message of how people do a fundraising campaign, because I think there's a lot of, element of, there's a lot of people don't know how to go about doing it. There's a lot of, it's very unknown. And people who find out that you need a license to raise funds, they get sort of scared or discouraged to go about doing it. So it's good to clarify it, while we're on your podcast. Today, anyone who wants to raise to fundraise, let's say for October, for breast cancer awareness, all they have to do for any campaign, but one example for this month, let's say, is they get in touch with us and they just let us know what they want to do, what activity they want to do for fundraising, what cause they want to support, how much they look to raise, their audience. We have a very simple one-pager application form that we ask them to fill, and we go about applying for the fundraising permit on their behalf. So we get back to them with the permit number, with the brand guidelines, how to go about putting the permit number along with our logo, along with theirs. And we simplify the process very much for them at no cost for them. Again, so they don't pay any fees for the license or anything. We just ask them to give us as much information as possible, because we communicate this with ICAD, the Islamic Affairs and Charitable Activities Department. That's the entity that issues fundraising permits, because in the UAE, it's illegal to do any fundraising campaign without a permit from them.
Yes,
in
that's
Dubai,
super important. Yeah, and I tell people this all the time. A lot of people come to us wanting, oh, can we, work together and raise money for this charity? Or could you please share my charity? And I said, well, I really can't do that because we have to have permission. You need to be a registered charity here. But if you are thinking to raise money for Al Jalila Foundation, I can say we've done that a few times, and it is super easy. Like you said, the forms, everything that you need, they're so supportive to answer questions. So it's very easy, and that should not be a deterrent actually for people that want to raise funds. If anything, that should encourage you, because it's such a great collaborative effort, rather than just anywhere else. You'd be raising funds and then you would just send the funds. But this, you feel it a little bit more because you're interacting with the Al Jalila Foundation as you're doing it. So I think that's one really important thing.
For sure.
One other thing that I want to highlight, you say, suddenly all the corporates and everyone gets really interested in October for Pinktober.
Yeah.
Same thing with November. And I always say, and don't get me wrong, like these awareness months are wonderful, but people living with cancer, diabetes, and other chronic conditions, they have them 365 days a year. So if you are working in a corporate or even an individual, but if you're a corporate and you want to raise awareness, and things might be kind of busy because October, November, September, last 2 quarters of the year are always really busy. You can always do something for one of the other months of the year too. It doesn't always have to be in October, because I bet you all see it too. It probably gets really busy and then it slows down and it's really quiet and then picks up again during those months.
Yeah.
And people with cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, they need support all the time, not just 1 month out of the year.
Definitely, Pam. I mean, I was smiling a little earlier because this is a very, very, very important message. And when you said, people with cancer, with diabetes, with heart diseases, they go through this 365 days a year. And I really appreciate you bringing up this point, because it's very important for people to know that today, whatever you're doing to support should be on an ongoing basis. It shouldn't be just once a month, and it shouldn't be for one cause in particular only. You should know what other people are doing to support other causes, right? So today, for us, we support these 5 areas. We run different campaigns for all of them. Maybe in October, there gets a lot of attention from corporates. That's not to say that we don't have campaigns for other diseases, like diabetes and others. So it's very important that people know that this should be a long-term sort of contribution from them. Every partner that we deal with and everyone that we speak to in order to collaborate, we always make it very clear that we want to collaborate we have long-term collaboration in our intentions always. We always look to collaborate long-term. We don't look to have a one-off campaign, and we want something ongoing. Our chairman, His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Saeed, believes in sustainability, and all our programs are very sustainable. And we believe that to be very important in our relationship, that we have an ongoing relationship and partnership with everyone that we collaborate with in the foundation. So definitely very important point. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. That's how we we prefer to do business as well with anyone. We see it as a long-term partnership because we are here to support people in a very long-term, it's a very long journey. Like you said, it starts from the planning from the time that someone's younger to if they get a condition, then how they're going through that. So it's a full journey and not just one day a year or 1 month a year. Or if you're in a corporate, for example, and you're looking for a day or something to celebrate, then there's so many like health days throughout the year. You can always link any of those back to a lifestyle condition or even non-lifestyle. I don't want to say all cancers are lifestyle. And sometimes, people get cancer, they can be healthy, they can get diabetes when they're healthy. But you can find, maybe it's Women's Day and then you come to the Women's Center and do something. Or I could, start rolling off other awareness days. But because what I don't want is for people to only think of Jalila in October and November, or only think of diabetes in November. And that's what I'm here for, to talk about it every day.
Definitely. It's very important. I mean, today, one of the first things we do when we send our communication to our partners and potential partners is we send them our calendar of activities for the year. So exactly what you just said, all the, campaigns are running throughout the year and all the different months and days that they can collaborate with us throughout the entire year across all different diseases and to support all these different causes. So we give them the entire platform to sort of pick and choose from. And we would love for them to collaborate with us on all fronts. It's very important to raise awareness about all these diseases because, as I mentioned earlier, today is very interlinked and there's always more that can be done. As much as we're receiving support in October, there's always more support that can be done. There's always more that can be contributed. And the same goes for diabetes. I think it's very important for us to raise awareness and do different campaigns. I spoke to you briefly about this, but with sports, today you mentioned the example with the football player with Nacho, but there's a lot that can be done there. I think there's still a lot of room for growth there. And inshallah, we look to do that and to tie up and do different campaigns to support for sure.
Yeah, for sure. No, we have many. This week, as we're recording this, is the ISPAD meeting in Abu Dhabi, which we're very excited to be a part of. After that, I will come back to you on some initiatives. We have many exciting thoughts. And I think one of the biggest challenges for us, and you probably feel that as well, even more so because you're focused on several different conditions, is you wake up in the morning and there are almost endless things that you can do to support somebody with diabetes or with cancer or in obesity or cardiovascular disease. I feel like it's not that you have to pick and choose between initiatives, but almost it's like, well, we could do this or we could do that. And time is a limited resource because there's just so much to do. So I think, again, getting people involved in more than just 1 month a year, that can really help with that burden of focus. I don't have a better phrase for it, but if everyone is contributing throughout the year at different times, then it will just be so much more powerful and really empower the community, and even taking it beyond awareness to where people are taking action. Because I think people are aware, but again, it goes back to these kind of months that we become aware of it, but we want people then to take the action after the awareness. And I think that's what you're really trying to do through sports and your other initiatives and the Women's Center as well. It's more than just awareness. You took me there when I came to visit, and it's absolutely beautiful. And as soon as you walk in, you can just feel the energy, the love, the hope. You really feel it. It's a beautiful center.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. Today, that's why I'm on your podcast, and thank you again for the opportunity, Bamis, to get people to be more aware of who we are, what we do, how we can collaborate, and that we collaborate across, different areas, and that we can support them for all these different causes. and get the message out there and help raise awareness and funds for people that need it. To put a little emphasis on that last point about people who need it, for our treatment program, what we did is just to give a bit of light for people on the treatment program side. I mentioned earlier that we have a treatment program called Aoun, which means to support in Arabic. And what we did to give people more of an inside look on these cases is we did an online crowdfunding platform for that program, and we called it Aoun Giving. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's sort of a crowdfunding platform with like a barometer, and it shows you how much the person needs for and what they need it for. Be it kidney dialysis or heart surgery or what have you, different needs that they need it for, different cases across different nationalities, across different genders and ages. It's all across, and it gives people that sort of inside look on what each case, and there's a story, of course, what the person's going through, how they got diagnosed, what they're currently going through, and how they can achieve, how can they get the treatment and how much they need for it. So I think that was a very important step for us as well. We had recently done this, and this goes back to the community, right? Because today, some people in the community would rather support a particular case to see, physically, who the person is that they're supporting, to know more about them, rather than to just donate towards a program that supports the general population in the UAE of all residents of all nationalities. So that goes back to us being, very forward thinking and innovative, and we always look to come up with different programs and different ways of reaching out to the community, and making it very easy and accessible for them to contribute, to donate, and to collaborate with us.
I love that program, actually, because people do like to see where it's going and what they're doing. And I remember several years ago when I did go to the Jalila Foundation, and I was still back working in corporate. And I think I was just kind of, looking, researching, because after you get a diabetes diagnosis in your family, you want to know who's going to find the cure, because that's really what you want, right? Especially in your child with type 1. So I started digging deeper into the website, and it wasn't that easy at the time, but I like to research and I'm stubborn. So I kept going layer upon layer till I came across all the different research that you all were funding. And it did make a difference, because then I said, oh, they're supporting these medical students, to study all of these things. And they were very, very specific things. So I think the public does like to see that. And I love that you're doing it in a crowdfunding way, because it makes it more realistic. And even maybe some people have lived what this person is going through, and they might be more happy to support it in that way if they can.
For sure. Thank you for touching on that point, Pam. Today also, research is fundamental to us and one of our core pillars here. What we also do on the research side, just to add a little more to that, is we fund seed grants for doctors and professors that want to perform their research, as long as it's in the UAE and at our Hamad bin Rashid Research Institute that you visited, our lab here.
Which is, it's an amazing place. If you are here and want to do research, I think you should definitely get in touch and look into that.
So we fund research grants up to 300,000 dirhams. And again, across all areas, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, cancer. And we've collaborated very successfully with a number of universities in the UAE. And a lot of successful patents have come out as a result. So definitely, research is very core to us. And this is one of the main programs that we have here is the seed grants. So
amazing. That's amazing. And I love that it's still going. I mean, we'll always discover new things, but there's always going to be challenges and problems to solve. So I think that's also another really beautiful thing that you're doing. Since the month of November is coming up, and as we talked, it's Diabetes Awareness Month. I'm going to start talking about it now. I always put on my social media, like, November is coming, like winter is coming.
Yeah.
But it's November. And we go out, we talk about it, we do things. And you all have a walk with Landmark Group every year. Will you be having the walk again this year?
Yeah, I mean, this is again one of our long-term partnerships, right, with Landmark Group in particular, and they do this walk on an annual basis. They always show their support for that and for diabetes. And what's more than that is we want to have more events like this. We want to collaborate with more companies and individuals who want to do events as successful as this, because this is definitely, as you mentioned, this walk by Landmark is the sort of highlight of our events for diabetes, and it has been for quite some time. And we want people to follow in this sort of footsteps, right? To do an event like this, to raise awareness for diabetes and to highlight the importance of contributing towards people who need this and who are combating this disease. So definitely.
Amazing. Yeah, if you've not done the walk, it's a lot of fun. And,
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of doing it last year. So it's a lot of fun. And again, it brings the activity side of things to it, which always makes it more fun. And, it's a journey. We're all going through a journey. People who are suffering from diabetes or from cancer, or people who aren't diagnosed. We're all going through a journey together. And I think the importance of events like this is that it puts us all in one, platform together, in one sort of stage. And we're there to support each other as a community, with moral support, emotional support, financial support. And that's why events like this are very important. And we look forward to having, more and more of them, for sure.
Amazing. Definitely we will. I am sure with your passion for sports and everything else, there's many opportunities. I think also this has probably been eye-opening for people that are listening, that have been wondering how can they further contribute to the community other than kind of what they're used to hearing about, right? I don't think a lot of people were aware of some of the initiatives that you're doing in the Al Jalila Foundation. So I hope that this inspires individuals and organizations to want to become more involved and get more active in the community, because the Al Jalila Foundation is such an important part of the community. I think just more people need to understand the initiatives and all these beautiful things that you've been building over time.
Of course, no, I agree. And it's through initiatives like yours, podcasts like this, that we can reach the community, or better reach the community rather, and channels like this, right? It's very important to get the message across. And alhamdulillah, we're living in a blessed country, and we're blessed to have leaders like we do, who set the standard for us and guide us, in the way they do, and with their efforts and their philanthropic acts and charitable nature overall inspires us all to help and to help each other and to contribute and to give back to the community that we're based in, because that's what being socially responsible is, right? It's what are you doing to give back to the community that has given you so much, And people, unfortunately, I said this on my last talk also, but people always, alhamdulillah, thank God we're living in a country that we're blessed like this, like the UAE, and that, but people always have this confusion where they think that, okay, the UAE is oil rich, and they don't have any problems over there, and there's no issues. But there are people who really need support here, and nobody's safe, right? You can have all the oil in the world, and you can be the wealthiest country in the world, but we have 4,500 new cases of cancer every year. Just like everyone in the world, we're number one cause of death here is cardiovascular diseases, and we need to raise awareness. And we need to support those who need it. And it's important to get that out, right? Today, we need to make sure that we're contributing to the community that we're based in before we, or in hand with contributing abroad, right? Because the world, I mean, today there's so many countries that are suffering and need support and help for sure. And that should never be halted by any means. But one should also be aware of what's happening in his community and what, people need here, as well as contributing abroad.
Yeah,
that's very
I agree.
important.
And yeah, thank you for saying that, because that one made me reflect on, I've been here 20 years and very proud resident. My son was born here. This is his home. This is our home. So it's important for us to give back to the community here, and also to a country that has given me so much as well. For people that, when they say, you might watch the news or something and say, oh, the world is horrible, what can I do about that? You may not be able to solve the biggest problems and challenges that some of the countries in the world are facing, but what we can do is we can look locally within our own communities to see how we can support someone or an organization locally, because that at the end of the day will help somebody.
Absolutely, for sure. It's so important, Pam. I can't stress that enough. It's very important for people to look at what they're doing. And I think particularly after the pandemic, you had a lot of companies that have sort of looked within or looked internally and saw what they were doing in terms of CSR and how they were meeting that objective and how they were giving back to the community. And that sort of raised the importance on that front. That's on a corporate level, but also on an individual level, we saw that also grow, particularly after the pandemic. We don't have to wait for things like that to happen again for us to have to reflect.
Yeah, I hope not.
To reflect about what we're doing.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, COVID was very challenging, but it did give us a lot of enlightenment, I think, about many things and what's important and maybe where we need to better put our focus.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I think on that note, I'm going to wrap up this conversation, but I have a feeling this isn't going to be the last time that we'll see you here on the podcast. I'm sure that there'll be many things to talk about in the future. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing more about Al Jalila Foundation and all the initiatives that you're working on, and everything else. I really very much appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me on your podcast, Pam. And it definitely won't be the last time. I'll be on anytime. Whenever you have anything in mind, please feel free to reach out. And we look forward to collaborating, inshallah, very soon.
Thank you so much. And for everything that we talked about today, for those of you listening, we'll put all the links and other information in the show notes so you can find it easily. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Pam. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Bye.